Hello, my name is Owen, and let me just say off the bat, Happy New Year. Welcome. Well, may I be the first to welcome you to 2025. Very, very exciting. And what we're going to do today is we're going to look back at the year 2024. We're going to look back gratefully. We're going to look back fondly. We're going to reminisce about all the good times that I had, personally. Whatever happened to you, I couldn't say. I couldn't speak on it, okay? 2024, though, year of highs, a year of lows, mostly a year of middles, if we're being honest. But in terms of our reading journey, you know what? I think it's as solid as they come, or as they have came, for me at least. But 2025 is obviously going to be the greatest year ever, and nothing's ever going to beat it until 2026. But 2024 was a great year, and I wanna celebrate this. And listen, it's January 1st. You can't say that I didn't time this video any more perfectly, because sometimes I'm a little bit late on things. But you know what? We're getting ahead of the ball game here, and I got the stats hot off the presses for 2024. The finalized stats. It's very, very exciting time of year. For those of you that don't know about me, I don't really get to talk about it a lot, but I do love good statistical analysis, and I do use StoryGraph, or I use Goodreads and I use StoryGraph, but I like StoryGraph. I started it, 2024 is the first year I used it, so I could get access to all this full year of charts and data and collections, and it scratches an itch for me. And I'll attach a link in the description of the video to my StoryGraph account if you guys want to check it out. I don't know how much you can see on other people's accounts, but you can also just follow like what I'm reading. I usually keep it up to date with my progress on books, what I'm reading. So I encourage you to check it out. I do have a Goodreads as well, but that one's more, at this point, I don't even know why I use it, to be honest. StoryGraph is a lot more interesting to me because it gives me a lot of stats. And the stats are as follows. Before we get into the whole year, we're going to recap December first. I know I'm just keeping you on edge, right? But December, we read a total of 4 books and a whopping total of 2,487 pages. Those 4 books were Rhythm of War, our reread, Book 4 of Stormlight, Olive Kitteridge, Frenchman's Creek, and The Three Musketeers, which I got in just in the nick of time. Finished it on the 31st. The only book that I said I was going to get to that I didn't get to was finishing this brick that is Wind and Truth. So I'm only like 280 pages into it, and clearly have not even made a dent, and he's screaming for justice. So we didn't get nearly as far into this as I thought I would, but you know what? Considering the ambitiousness of my Stormlight reread, the fact that I got started in it all, holidays are busy, right? I had to prioritize between finishing Three Musketeers, which I've been reading for almost 2 months, or basically 2 months, or really diving into Wind and Truth, which I didn't even know I could finish, even if I really delved deep into it. I decided, what's the rush? What's the rush, right? So we just read about 300 pages of Wind and Truth, but we finished everything else that I said I was going to finish. So look forward to the Three Musketeers review. That'll be coming out shortly. But 2,487 pages, 4 books, very solid month, and that brings us to a yearly total. Our goal was 40 books to be read in the year, and we read 42 books. Consider me a winner. And that was a total of 21,941 pages, which I think is absolutely outstanding. I don't know how that compares to previous years because I didn't have access to these numbers in previous years, but I would consider almost 22,000 pages to be a significant amount of pages. Our low for the year, or our lowest month, was June, where we reached only 990 pages, just under 1,000. Or our high was September, when we first started our Stormlight reread, was 3,023 pages. Now, I don't attribute that much value to the number of pages read because I don't really remember what I was reading in June, but I'm sure it was a lot denser stuff, a lot slower stuff. I think that's when I was reading Book of the New Sun, that time period, where I was saying September, I started Stormlight. And these Stormlight books, they're long, but they're not hard reads. I feel like reading 600 pages of The Three Musketeers is equivalent to reading a 1,400-page Stormlight book, just so the way it reads, right? So pages read also don't matter that much. Also considering that this book, or this app, translates audiobook hours into pages, which I do appreciate, because you could also see it break down by hours. But it's also if you're listening to an audiobook at 4 times speed, as I've been known to do, maybe not 4 times, but the maximum speed it could go, that's also giving you a lot of pages in a short amount of time. So it's really not that important of a metric, but I just think it's fascinating, right? 21,941 pages. That's a lot of pages. And speaking of formats of books, 25 of the books that I read were printed physical copies, which is my preference. preferred preference, okay? Let's just say things more redundantly, okay? Let's leave that in 2024, okay? 12 digital books I read on my Kindle / my phone. I do read books on my phone sometimes if I'm on the go, okay? And then 5 audiobooks. Looking at these numbers, I can't say if I'm surprised or that the audiobook number is so low or that it's so high, because I feel like in 2023, I said at least one time, we're like, you know what, I'm an audiobook guy. And I feel like I was listening to a lot of audiobooks at the end of 2023, so it made me think that like I was carrying that over, but then I thought about it, I'm like, I can't remember the last time I listened to that book. I think it was Pet Sematary, and that was multiple months ago. So the fact that I did 5, hey, good for me. But I think like looking ahead to 2025 a little bit, I expect these numbers to be very, very similar. If anything, I've strayed too far from my Kindle, my beloved Kindle. I've been buying too many books, definitely. I've been buying from the store. I haven't gone to the library since the summer, really, which is unfortunate for me. Unfortunate for my wallet as well. And the Kindle is just so nice. And he's just been sitting here. I don't even think he's fully charged. He's probably dead. Guys, my Kindle's dead. When's its funeral? Anyway, that doesn't matter either, because physical, digital, it's all the same. It's all gravy to me. Now, moving on into some more specific genre types. We read 38 fiction books, 4 nonfiction books. You got to pump those numbers up, baby. Only 4 nonfiction books. I think 2 of them were finance. One was the C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity, and I can't remember the 4th one. I think it was maybe it was Comfort Crisis. Did I read Comfort Crisis this year, or was that last year? I don't remember. But in terms of genres, our biggest genres were classics, romance, sci-fi, and fantasy. Fantasy by far being the largest, over double the second highest, even though I said at the beginning of the year, I was burnt out on fantasy. I'm not going to read any fantasy. I read 18 fantasy books this year. What am I doing, okay? And I expect that number to probably be just as high next year, considering I was thinking about all the books that I want to read, which will probably be a separate video, by the way. And almost everything I was excited to read is a fantasy, or it's a fantasy sci-fi mashup. So again, expect those numbers to be very similar as well. Classics, romance, sci-fi, fantasy. That's just me, man. That's just me in a nutshell. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. My top authors of the year. Brandon Sanderson is tied for number 1, only because I did the Stormlight reread. If I would have finished Wind and Truth, he would have been the definitive number 1. I read 4 of his books in the Stormlight reread. Gene Wolfe comes in tied at number 1 as well, because I read the Book of the New Sun, which was a new find for me this year, a very enjoyable experience. And then finally, tied for second, or rather tied for third and fourth, would be Emily Henry, who is that romance author that I stumbled upon at the beginning stage of this year. Kind of read a lot of her books at once in preparation for a newer one that came out, Funny Story. And then Frank Herbert, because I reread Dune 1 and read Dune Messiah and Children of Dune, and which was a great experience as well. Which leads me to the final point. So that's kind of my year in review, right? And overall, like I said, great year, very solid year, 42 books. I think that is my record for amount of books read, because I was tracking Goodreads before. I think my record before was 41, ? And I'm very happy with that output. If I read 40 books every single year, I think it's a sustainable pace for me. I think it's an enjoyable pace. I could get varied book lengths in there, get a decent amount of stories, get a wide array of authors. So overall, I'm very happy with it. But overall, celebrating 2024 is not done yet. It's going to be an exciting couple weeks for enjoyers of the Toasty Towns meal, okay, of my videos, the feast of my content. Because what are we going to talk about very shortly in the next few days? Maybe not say less few days. Who knows how long this will take me to do? But we're going to be talking about top books of the year. A lot of contenders for my favorite books of 2024 are in these 42 books, right? And I don't even know it. I don't even know what was my favorite book of the year. I'm gonna have to look through the list. We're gonna have to pour through the data, enter our mind palace, sit on the throne of my mind palace, and judge harshly everything that came before us in 2024. I read so many great books, and I'm excited to talk about those, excited to share them, excited to promote them, excited to get people excited about reading in 2025. And then, like I said, what am I going to be reading in 2025? What are the books that I want to tackle in 2025? And the Three Musketeers review is coming out. That's going to be a very interesting book to talk about as well. And I'm entering the new year energized. full of gratitude to you all for your support. It was a big year for the channel, a big calendar year for the channel. Had a lot of growth, had a lot of new people joining the view. Joining the view, what are you talking about? Joining the channel and giving your views, which I greatly appreciate. And overall, you know what? Just a grateful time of year. Who doesn't love the holidays? So that's all I got. Like I said, keep an eye out for those videos. Top books of 2024 coming out soon. Three Musketeers review. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like the video and you want to see more like it in the future. Happy New Year, everybody. Let me know in the comments. Did you have a good reading year? Did you meet your reading goal? What was that number? How many books are you guys reading? I want to get the judge of how absolute losers you guys are, because I'm sure it's like 150 books, 200 books, or maybe you're just an average Joe. Read 10 books a year. You know what? That's great too, okay? I feel like we got both ends of the spectrum, but I want you to be proud of your number, whatever it is, and let me know in the comments. And as always, Happy New Year, and thanks for sticking around.